Yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay. Thanks, Gabe. Well, I'm drgrumble, and this is Nimian Legends Brightridge. An awesome game by Rob Cadway of Protopop, who's actually in the chat, which is cool. And yeah, it's primarily an exploration game, sort of 3D open world thing, but there's also a couple of stories. We'll be running Ballad of Brightridge, world record about 35 minutes, but who knows, I might really cock it up, so fingers crossed. And I'm going to start the time on the countdown from 3, so 3, 2, 1, start. So there's about a 20-second loading screen. To begin with, if no one can hear my voice, because I don't have a very loud voice, then let me know in chat. I'm going to try and keep an eye out. One of the first things we do is use the fast travel, which is kind of a mainstay of this run and saves a lot of time. And this is a story about two youngsters who work at an inn, and they're trying to keep the inn going, but it's struggling because there's this weird tower that's dishing out a lot of poison. And just now I'm going to do a bit of housekeeping, which is mainly just to make the stream thing a bit lighter, because there's a lot of dark tones, especially in the night time, and it can actually make it quite difficult to see what's going on. And in fact, I don't know, Gabe, if you're able to turn the brightness up your end, then that might help, but it's not, hopefully it won't be a big problem. And I think this is one of the best looking games on Android, or on the phone, period. And the fact it was made by one guy is just crazy. This is Terrapin Tower in the background. It's like the main, it's like the villain of the piece. But yeah, I've actually got these graphics, I would say, turned down on the lower end of the scale, just because obviously Speedrun wanted to avoid any lag at all. But yeah, you can dial it up, you know, if you want to sacrifice a tiny bit of lag. But yeah, two playable characters. This guy is called Randy, and the other one is Jizka. And yeah, they're both playable as adults and as kids, as the story goes on. And I don't know why, but I always play as Randy. And one of the main speedrun techniques is this bunny hopping, and usually I'd sort of spam this all the time, but I'm going to try and limit it a little bit in this run, just because when you're watching it on video or stream, it can make you a little bit sick, a little bit nauseous. So I'm not going to do it all the time, just going to do it a little bit. And this is a tiny little time save if I'd done it properly. And this is the Storm Spirit. And obviously storms its game. And this is usually my first split in the run, and it's usually about the 350 mark, so I'm more or less on pace. Oh. And now the inn's getting a bit low on grain, so we have to go over to the mill where all the grain comes from, because it's infested with puffids, and we have to destroy the puffids, which are these orange things. I'm guessing they might have something to do with the toxicity of the tower or something. Maybe it's kind of part of the same thing. But yeah, a lot of the run involves sort of smacking orange puffids and things. But yeah, I mean, I spent a little bit of time in the exploring sort of mode, which is it's a bit of a glitchy. But yeah, you can spend hours just walking around in the world. It's obviously very scenic and aesthetic. And quite a lot of speedrun potential, because it's not like a skill-based speedrun massively. But there's quite a lot of tech and probably a fair bit. Oh gosh, it's never happened before. It's quite a. Oh, whoa. That's never happened to me before. Again, that's exploiting the fast travel to the inn. And this is the introduction to jump pads, which are used a couple of times in the run. They're not like a central feature, but I can think of at least a couple of times where you definitely need these. And that was the sound of a mine collapsing. So this is another little predicament you're asked to sort out. So there's a migration of butterflies who are stuck in a mine now. It's one of those areas where the bunny hopping does save a lot of time, so I do a bit of it, but hopefully People don't get too nauseous. These steeples you have to run up, but there is a kind of a glitchiness about these, so you can usually sort of glitch through them, which I'm not doing particularly well now, but you can do it. And now we're going to be a butterfly. To get into this cavern where these butterflies are trapped, I think this more than any, this is probably the game where most butterflies are saved of any speedrun that I know. If anyone knows of a speedrun or any game where you save this many butterflies, then let me know. I think this game has that particular accolade. And this is us going up to the top of the cavern to destroy this blockage. So hopefully that's fixed now, and this is again fast travel coming into its own, and I think this is just, as a butterfly, we fancy doing a bit of pollination. And again, I think this is probably, of all the speed games, this is the one where you pollinate the most flowers. Again, I haven't researched that. I don't know how many other games allow you to pollinate flowers, but this one's got a good bit of that. This is the route I normally take. Oh, there's that one. And this is us now getting some, I think it's Nimian root or Nim root. By shooting these buds down, and this is basically the grog that allows the party to start. But before we do that, we've got to get the showers working. And again, this is where you might not, can be a bit tough to see what's going on via the video or the stream, so hopefully you can see it okay. It's kind of a shame that I have to try and capture my commentary through the phone. Through the phone mic, because the soundtrack of this game is really nice. And now we dance. Oh yeah. And normally, I think Rob probably intended that you stay up there with Jizka and share a romantic moment, but if you're quick enough, you can actually skip the invisible wall and come down to really close to the next checkpoint. You can still see the fireworks pretty nice from there. And now Jizka's gone missing, and basically no one else really gives a toss, so we've got to go alone to try and find where she is. This is where the bunny hopping again saves a lot of time, so I might do a bit of that now. And this little hop over the mountain, I don't actually know if it saves any time, but this jump is pretty cool. There's no fall damage by default. You can adjust jump height and fall damage in the game, and there's a whole other sort of speedrunning world of opportunities, because there's a cheat feature as well, where you can turn on a bunch of cheats, including getting access to a lot of the shape changes, the shape shifts from the start, and that's definitely, it would be a cool category to allow the cheats. And this is a pretty standard puzzle. And this is where we think Jizka is trapped somewhere. And this bit's an example of there being actually some quite satisfying platforming in this game. Don't really want to fall down there because you lose quite a chunk of time. Here, I'm sure there's a way to skip this falling tube by trying to somehow squeeze down the side and just free fall down, but I haven't worked that out yet, because the fall in the tube is quite slow. But and this little cutscene sort of explains how the towers came to be there in the first place. Quite nice, actually. It's quite nice during a run to have a few seconds where you don't have to do anything. You can just have a bit of a breather. I do have a bit of a cold as well, so if I sound a little bit nasal, there are the towers. So yeah, Randy's just learnt why the towers are there, and the towers are kind of killing Brightridge, because obviously the aliens we did do a vote, because you can now choose whether to save Jizka, who's over the other side of this toxic lake, or you can just let her die. And that's what we voted to do. Sorry, Jizka. Because running over there and picking her up and taking her back, that takes a good minute, and we don't want to do that. She made her choice. Yeah, it's easily a minute. It's probably more than a minute that you save letting her die. So you can't turn that up. And this is Randy being distraught that he's let Jizka die. He has saved a minute, so it's definitely worthwhile. If you did save Jizka, you'd actually, as Randy, you would die from exposure to the toxins, and you would stumble to that sunset and watch that as you succumbed. But we let her die, so that's fine. That's good. And this is the inn owner and Randy sort of leaving Brightridge forever. Well, not forever, but escaping Brightridge because the tower and business struggling because of the tower. Often you get some tree ants, some oh, there you go. Some tree walkers are sort of hanging around here normally. And they're one of the shape-shifting options, so you can actually be a big walking tree and stamp on things. That's fun. It's not part of this speedrun, but it's quite good to do in exploration. And about 13 years later, Randy comes back to avenge Jizka by taking the tower down. So, I think if you probably describe this story as having 3 acts, and this is the 3rd act. I think the first third is mainly about Randy and Jizka getting friendly, and falling in love, being youngsters, and then 2nd act is stumbling on that alien shrine and escaping, and then this is about the revenge. So that's the spirit of Brightridge. She's going to help us. The easiest way of getting up this particular tower, because you can't do the glitch, which I did before on this, so you might as well. The easiest way is actually to shapeshift into a butterfly and fly up. And I think ordinarily, Rob, the idea would be to run from there to the inn. It's as the stag, but it's actually easier to fast travel and stay as the butterfly. And yeah, this is where we begin the ascent of the tower. But yeah, cheat mode, which I mentioned before, I definitely want to do a run with that because it's just funny. You can, from the very beginning, you can turn into a big Drakazid. It's like this dragon-like creature, and it's just I tried it. It's just insane. You're sort of flying around at breakneck speeds, trying to control it. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking. Oh dear. And this is another example of a lot of fun platforming, which you wouldn't really expect from a game of this kind, but it's quite fun. the platforming in it. And this is the first puzzle on the tower. This one's quite simple. And you use these sort of portals to get down, and this is the fire sentinel, which is the first sort of mini boss of the tower. And all of the bosses you sort of take down by just smacking their biopods. I found the quickest way of doing this is you've got to avoid those beams of light. But yeah, it's quicker to do them sort of anti-clockwise, I guess. And this is definitely one bit where I think that there must be a faster way of getting up to that bit of the tower, but I haven't worked out, you know, what to do about that yet. The jump pads are a little bit slow. If you get the chance, you should check out Robert's other game, which is Nimian Legends Vangelis, which is yeah, same concept. I think Vangelis, Robert, I'm right in saying, is probably, if anything, got a larger storyline. It certainly seems that way from what I've played of it so far. Oh gosh. I was hoping I wouldn't actually fall off, so it wouldn't be quite so apparent how easy it is to save myself, but yeah, I'd recommend Vangelis as well as this game. And I think there's another game in the pipeline as well, which is looking amazing. Graphically, it's looking just insane. That's the Earth Sentinel, who's eating mud at the moment. And the jump pads won't get you high enough, so you actually have to find the steeple for enabling you to change into an eagle, which is just over in that steeple on the tower. I tend to do this, change into the stag to make this run, but I'm not sure. I think it might even be quicker just to use the jump pads and avoid having to negotiate all these trees and things, but I haven't really tested it out. And this is another tower where you can use the slight glitch, which is the slight sort of gap between the walkways and the actual steeple, to make the ascent a lot higher. I mean, this probably saves, oh gosh, that has never actually happened. That's never happened to me before. Yeah, definitely haven't saved time doing this. I have to run up it normally. You can see there the small gaps, and that's what you try and glitch through. That's why you give a time estimate 20 minutes over your PB. That's how it's meant to work. And this is us becoming an eagle. And it's quite relaxing, just flying around as an eagle in the game. I think all of the creatures are quite interesting being, just yeah, just existing. I haven't really worked out whether there's a speed advantage in sort of going up and down. And normally you'd have to solve this puzzle here, but there's actually a slight glitch here because the biopod there is slightly sticking out. You can actually do that and avoid having to do the puzzle at all. And then fast travel, so we can make our journey up to the next bit of the tower. And this next bit is quite cool. It's not a glitch as such, but if it works, it's quite a neat strategy, which is platform riding. Because on touching this checkpoint, the next few platforms arise, and if you make your footprint large enough, you can actually hitch a ride on them. This works about 1 in 2 times, I would say, for me. So that's normal. Go on, go on. Oh, that's as close as it gets. And that saves, I reckon that probably saves 30 seconds. And coming up, we take on the last real sort of boss, which is the snake grinder. Love that name. You see him visible through the clouds in a bit. And to take down the snake grinder, we got to reach this steeple and turn into a dracazid. And quite a lot of time can be won and lost here, just because if you miss targets at all with the dracazid, it's quite difficult to turning circles are quite, or turning range is quite low, and you can spend quite a lot of time just trying to catch up again with the snake. And that was alright, actually. So that was the last sort of weapon of the tower. And we're not too far from the end. This next bit is actually one of the trickier bits of the whole run is to try and hit this checkpoint with the dragon without having to shape change. And it's harder than it looks. Yeah, got it. Because with the drag seed, it's travelling at a bit of a speed, so if you miss it, it's quite difficult to turn around. But we're now merged with the Spirit of Brightridge, and going to jump down into the core, and yeah, take it down. Before I forget, shout out to Gave for all the work he's done for this marathon. I know he's put a lot of time into it, and I think it's really come off really well. Yeah, he's done a really good job. And I think I'm right in saying that probably Randy and the Spirit of Brightridge died taking the tower down, and we're now just an innocent butterfly, just admiring the view. And I'll say when time is up. It's going to be when I touch this checkpoint coming up. Got to fly through the trees. Oh, and these are the ghosts of Randy and Jizka, and that's time. Yeah, and that was the Ballad of Brightridge. Yeah, I'd 100% recommend these games, even if you got a potato phone. As I say, you can dial down the graphics. I think it will run on you know, fairly old phones. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to do a run of Vangels. Yeah, because that looks even better than this game in terms of the scope and the ambition. So yeah, I'm really amazed by how one person can have made all of this. So yeah, kudos. Yeah, and I don't think I've got anything else. So best luck with the other runs, and yeah, thanks again, Gabe, and thanks Rob for joining us.
Aww. Thanks, Grumble, for that. That was great. I love the shout out as well.